Excuse number 3.
Go ahead, come on, brother. Come on, brother.
Come on now.
Excuse number 3.
Come on,
I like you Muslims. But why y'all kill Malcolm X?
Come on.
I can ride with y'all, except that y'all killed Malcolm X. This is what it said.
Come on.
For a lot of black people, the Malcolm X matter is an open wound.
Right.
And it is the reason you stay estranged
Right.
from the Nation of Islam.
That's right.
Well, you've been made to question, not just did the Nation of Islam kill Malcolm. You don't question that. You've been made to assume that to be actual fact.
Right.
But you've been made now to question the Farrakhan killed Malcolm.
Right.
The Farrakhan have something to do with the death of Malcolm X. See, I said you've been made because you didn't come to that thought organically.
That's right.
You didn't come to that thinking on your own.
Right.
You are the victim of a misinformation campaign, but that excuse has been taken from you.
That's right.
Now, and incidentally, November, the same November 2024 of that congressional hearing, they took
Come on.
your excuse that the Muslims are cool, but they're crazy. They believe in spaceships, fantasy. That excuse was taken from you. The excuse of your social and political inclusion and comfortability in this society was taken from you when Trump and his mega whites took full control of the government, and American life will never be the same again. Believe that. So the comforts that you've been enjoying day by day, they're being stripped.
Yes, sir.
That was November. Something else happened in November as I close. Family of Malcolm X sues NYPD, FBI, CIA, and Nation of Islam?
No, sir.
And Farrakhan? Family of Malcolm X sues the New York Police Department, the FBI, and the CIA over activist 1965 assassination. See, on behalf of the Shabazz family, in particular the daughters of the late Malcolm X, on their behalf, Attorney Benjamin Crump and a team of able attorneys filed a $100 million lawsuit for those their evidence indicates is responsible for the death, the murder of Malcolm X. Have y'all heard about that?
Yes, sir.
It is very important that you get your hands on the filed complaint that lays out the perpetrators of the assassination of Malcolm X, according to the investigation of this lawsuit, for which the parties are seeking $100 million. See, you can talk the nation killed Malcolm, but the rubber meets the road here. You should avail yourself to this 80-page document and see what the current state of the evidence indicates happened to Malcolm X. But I'll help you out today. According to the $100 million lawsuit filed against who? The United States of America, Department of Justice, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the Central Intelligence Agency, and the New York Police Department, together, I'm quoting the lawsuit, together with their leaders, agents, and undercover informant provocateurs within the Nation of Islam and the Organization of Afro-American Unity, Malcolm X's own organization, agent provocateurs in both groups acted individually, jointly, and in conspiracy to cause Malcolm X's death, and afterwards they engaged in a decades-long effort to cover up their malfeasance. You are a victim of this decades-long effort to cover up their malfeasance. When you say the Nation of Islam killed Malcolm X, you are parroting the cover-up. And this is why when President Trump 2.0 signed the executive order to declassify the files, there were 4 major political assassinations of the 60s. President Trump's executive order was only to declassify documents relating to 3 of them.
Come on, brother.
One of those assassinations was left out of the executive order for a reason. Trump is declassifying the records related to the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, Senator Robert Kennedy, and the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. But the 4th assassination of the 60s was the assassination of Malcolm X. Those records will not be declassified because the cover-up is still important to the agenda of the U.S. government. The point, what is the point? The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, the devil has to do his utmost to take me out of the hearts of the people. The black man and woman experiences the love of God through Farrakhan. That's real. Farrakhan's heart for black people is God's heart for black people. And this is why we get so. We find it so intolerable the way some of us handle that man Farrakhan.
That's right.
It ain't even personal to us, except that we know the love that he shows to black people, and while you sleep and are totally unaware, you are benefiting from his love, God's love through him. Some of us would have been dead a long time ago if it were not for Farrakhan as watchmen on the wall, giving us something that allowed us to sidestep a trap. So we find it intolerable how he's handled by some of us. But he's so in love with you and us because he loves black people. And he don't want to see any black person hurt, though many of us have earned it. But God's love will prevail. God's love for black people will prevail, and he is God's love for black people. But it's the devil who is edging you on in your talk. It's the devil because the devil has to take Farrakhan out of the hearts of black people. And they are doing it with this. They are doing it with the lie that the Nation of Islam killed Malcolm X. See, the government still has operational use of the cover-up. There's no more use for the JFK cover-up. It gets them nowhere. There's no legacy from JFK that's a threat to the U.S. government. Kennedy is part of the government now. Well, if he gets voted in, confirmed. So the Kennedy legacy is not a threat anymore to the U.S. government. The cover-up is futile at this point. The King legacy is not a threat to the U.S. government anymore. So the cover-up has no real utility. But there's a legacy in the heart of America coming out of these events. That legacy is the Nation of Islam. That legacy is Farrakhan, who is considered the threat of the U.S. government. So the cover-up still has operational value. It's still important that you believe the Nation of Islam killed Malcolm X. It is operationally necessary that you believe Farrakhan has something to do with the assassination of Malcolm X. But your excuse has been taken from you. Look, the lawsuit says that these defendants that were enumerated, these federal defendants, that did not include Minister Farrakhan, it did not include the Nation of Islam, except the government agents within both the Nation of Islam and Malcolm X's own organization. If you are going to hold us accountable for government agents who earned a government check in their role in the murder of Malcolm X, and extrapolate from that the Nation of Islam killed Malcolm X, then you should, because Malcolm X's own lieutenants had government money in their pockets for their role in the murder of Malcolm X. So why don't you say the Organization of Afro-American Unity assassinated Malcolm X? But you don't say that because you are made to want the Nation of Islam to be guilty of the murder of Malcolm X. It says the federal defendants affirmatively encouraged, coordinated, and provided the circumstances for the successful assassination of Malcolm X. Now look, you say, well, yeah, that sounds good, but I saw Netflix. That's your problem. Fundamental. I saw it too. I saw it probably about 8 times. I studied it in minute detail. You say, but the men who pulled the trigger, they were black, and the men who pulled the trigger, they were Muslim in the Nation of Islam. Well, that's half right and half not right. What does this filing's findings say on the matter? Quote, the NOI involvement and participation in the assassination resulted from the urging, threats, manipulation, facilitation, and or subversive use of informant, provocateurs, and undercover agents by agents, supervisors, high-level officials, and leaders of the FBI and NYPD. NOI Lieutenant William Bradley, NOI Lieutenant William Bradley, and NOI members Leon Davis, Talmadge Hare, Benjamin Thomas, and Wilbert McKinley, the 5 of the shooter team who ran up in the Audubon and failed Malcolm that day, are co-conspirators who acted together and in conspiracy with the named FBI, NYPD, and CIA defendants to assassinate Malcolm X. They weren't there operating as Muslim zealots of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. They were there as paid employees of the U.S. government. Facts.
Come on.
There were 5 shooters, 4 shooters, but 3 of them were just part of the overkill operation. Malcolm was killed by the first shot. Malcolm was killed by the shotgun blast. The shotgun was wielded by this man, William Bradley, after he let off both barrels at Malcolm. Malcolm was dead on the floor. The other 3 ran up and pumped bullets into the prone body to make a point to those at the Audubon. It was what's called an overkill operation. Strike terror to the witnesses and send a message that any revolutionary is a dead revolutionary. This is Hoover's words. But the one who killed Malcolm, William Bradley, you say he was a lieutenant in the Nation of Islam. Not on that day.
Right. Go ahead, Doctor.
And he ain't been for almost a year before that. Talmadge Hare, the one they caught at the scene, well, there's 3 caught at the scene, but you only know about Talmadge Hare. Talmadge Hare, he wasn't in the Nation of Islam either. William Bradley showed up with a sawed-off shotgun and a full beard.
Go ahead, talk about that.
You should have known. Look around you. Look at every brother in a bow tie around you.
That's right.
And what do you notice? Ain't none of us got beard, and at no time when you visited us have you ever seen us with a beard. Now, if you encounter us out in the street and we got a beard, there's a fact that you can absolutely draw from that. Oh, that brother ain't in the mosque no more. That brother ain't in the mosque no more. Because we can't wear beards. When we are put out the mosque, then that's how we show we grow our beard back. So when William Bradley showed up on that day with a full beard, it's because he was put out the mosque, the same way Thomas Hare was. So he wasn't there on behalf of the Nation of Islam. Who was he there on behalf of? Listen. If the one who actually killed Malcolm was not there at the behest of the Nation of Islam, who's he there for? This is a 1965 FBI document on William Bradley. Why is there this FBI document, 1965 document on William Bradley, the shotgun shooter? One of the lawyers of the Crump legal team, able attorney Flint Taylor of People's Law Firm in Chicago, at the press conference, he spoke. And he said this: through the investigation, it became known that the FBI secretly hid all these years the fact that there were 9 FBI informants in the Audubon ballroom. That one of the men, the man who carried the shotgun and actually assassinated Malcolm X, had heavy connections to the FBI. William Bradley was a Fed. He killed Malcolm working for the federal government, not working for the Nation of Islam. You say, again, that sounds good, but I heard Malcolm. I heard Malcolm too. You heard Malcolm Monday night after his house, Monday night, February 15th. After his house was bombed February 14th, his wife and children in the home. They narrowly escaped. As any man would be, he's furious. He mounts a rostrum in Detroit less than 24 hours later, and he says, what? You all like to quote. My house was bombed. I want it to be known that it was bombed on the orders of Elijah Muhammad. They want to silence me. Ain't that what you heard? He did say that. But this is God is in the details. He said that on Monday, less than 24 hours after he suffered, that he and his family suffered that near death by fire. By Wednesday, he had totally rescinded that. And we know that because those who spoke to him last confirmed that.
Yes, sir. Right. Yes, sir.
You see here, Sister Betty Shabazz, his wife at the time, and Sarah Mitchell. Sarah Mitchell was the coordinating secretary of the Organization of Afro-American Unity, Malcolm's organization. She and other of Malcolm's people like Herman Ferguson and others, she gives very important testimony. This is what should define your view. On that fateful day on February 21st, 1965, Malcolm got to the Audubon around 2 o'clock. And in the back of the Audubon, behind the stage, was a green room, a room that he routinely met with his lieutenants and staff before going out to address the people. On this day, February 21st, he was in the green room with a number of his lieutenants and his coordinating secretary, Sarah Mitchell. He stepped on stage. He was called on stage at 3 o'clock, which was kill time. That was go time. From the plot, 3 o'clock was go time. This is why all of his men at 2:55 found their way to the back of the Audubon. All of his security found their way to the very back of the Audubon because the front was a kill zone. The back was a safe zone. All of his lieutenants at 2:55 made their way to the safe zone. So when Malcolm stepped out on stage, he was a lone sitting duck for the government assassins to cut him down at exactly 3 o'clock go time. But before he stepped out on stage, he had this moment with his lieutenant, some of his lieutenants, and his coordinating secretary, Sarah Mitchell. And he confided something. He's regretful. This is what Sarah Mitchell reports, that he said his last statement before going out to meet his fate. Sarah Mitchell says, during his final hours, Malcolm spoke of plans for explaining to the general public how hasty and mistaken he had been in accusing black Muslims of bombing his home. He said, you won't find a single instance where Muslim men ever moved to attack women and children. This is Malcolm talking. Sunday, less than an hour before he is killed, a week after his home was bombed. You won't find a single instance where Muslim men ever moved to attack women and children. I know their tactics and their limitations. And I'm telling you, things happening to me these past 2 weeks go beyond the realm of the Muslims. We didn't poison Malcolm in Cairo, Egypt. That's right. We did not force his exit from France because the French government knew that he was slated to be murdered on their soil and did not want the international embarrassment. That French hit wasn't from us. Or planned French hit wasn't ours. He said, things happening to me these past weeks go beyond the realm of the Muslims, end quote. Sarah speaking now. Malcolm was convinced that a conspired maneuver was already in motion whereby if anything happened to him, Elijah and his organization would be blamed and vice versa. He was right. That was the conspired maneuver. Kill Malcolm and blame it on the Nation of Islam. That's the cover-up, and the cover-up is still necessary today. That's why the Malcolm files were not slated to be declassified. Therefore, Sarah says, therefore, whatever should occur in the wake of such a neat setup, it was unlikely that other possibilities would be given due consideration. She says, after sitting quietly for a while, peering straight ahead, Malcolm finally looked around at all the concerned faces of those attending a last-minute meeting. Shaking his head, he voiced regrets that, inadvertently, he had aided and abetted a vicious, calculated scheme by accusing Elijah and the Muslims of being out to get him. Formerly so streetwise, he was angry with himself for falling for something he felt he should have been able to see into more clearly and more rapidly. Quote, I'm not trying to look noble or anything, and I'm sure not out here to rival or fight with anybody, surely not against my own people. You want to quote Malcolm, quote Malcolm.
Yeah, all right.
On Sunday, not on Monday. He knew the Nation of Islam wasn't out to kill him. Did we want to? Yeah, we did. Could we have? Yes, we could have. But this is a divine military.
Right. Come on now.
If Elijah would have said, kill Malcolm, there would not been a cell of his being left on the planet Earth. But Elijah said, leave Malcolm alone. This is why the government had to pay out money to Malcolm's people to set them up at the Audubon and agents inside the nation to carry out the hit. Because the loyal followers of Muhammad, we obeyed the command.
That's right.
He was wrong, but the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that Malcolm was going to come back to the Nation of Islam, and a repentant Malcolm was far better for the cause of Islam than a dead Malcolm.
Yes.
And Malcolm was trying to get back into the Nation of Islam when he was cut down on that day. That's a fact.
Yes.
So the Nation of Islam did not kill Malcolm X. Family, so excuse number 2 is taken from you. So you have no more excuses. Join the Nation of Islam today. Assalamu alaikum, family.